Welcome back, you guys. Can you believe it? This is episode number 3. This has been an absolute blast. And if this is your first time to find me, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a place I get to hang out with you and you get to hang out with me. And they call it a podcast, but I just think it's a great place for you and I to get to know each other better. So welcome, you guys. God has gifted you 168 hours this week, and you get to use those hours any way that you want. It's 10,080 minutes. And I did notice somebody this week said, Linda, it's not 10,800 minutes, it's 10,080 minutes. Thank you for having my back. I always like it when somebody has my back. And so welcome, everybody. Thank you for giving me these minutes. Thank you for giving me this time. It is such a precious gift to me. And it is always my prayer that something that I say will encourage you and lift you and challenge you so that you can go on and be that bright, shiny light that we so desperately need today in our society. So what y'all think about those mailbox episodes? Oh my gosh, I think that was honestly my favorite part, was reading your all's comments on like live and in person, comments that came from Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and there's hundreds of them. And that just put joy in my joy jar. And I got some great ideas. Like I have this notebook, you know how you have a notebook because you're a good student? I have a notebook. And some of you all left me some really good ideas that I could do a podcast about. So thank you so much, because this is a collaborative effort. We're a community. And if you haven't signed up yet, go to my website, lindatoupin.com. T as in Tom, O-U, P as in Peter, I-N, lindatoupin.com, and click the little button at the top that says sign in or sign up, and that'll get me your email and your text, and then you will start getting these sent directly to you, so that you don't have to find me. But you can find me if you want to find me on YouTube and my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Well, I want to congratulate all of you who've been with me through all 3 episodes. This has been so much fun, and you guys are such good students. So I instructed you to find a notebook and begin to journal. And I will give you homework after every assignment or after every episode. So the first episode was all about choices. And you were to begin to document some of those 35,000 choices that you're making every day. I had to laugh out loud. In one of the comments, the gal, and I gave her a shout out, she said, "No wonder I'm so tired. I've been making 35,000 choices a day. I have decision fatigue." So anyway, begin to journal some of those choices, you guys, because what ends up happening is some of those choices you're making serve you well, and sometimes they don't serve you so well. And so we want to make sure that we're cognizant that we are in control, because if you want to change your life, you have to change your choices. Now, the second homework assignment was with the episode called Crease in the Piece of Paper, and it's how you are programmed to think. And I ask you to start to become cognizant and begin to journal some of the news that you were watching, some of the current events that you were watching, who were you watching, and for how many minutes. And how did you feel afterwards? We want to be informed citizens, but we surely need to limit some of that toxicity that we're feeding into our brain. And so just a recap of some of the main lessons that I've taught you so far that got the most positive interaction from you. One is our mantra. So let's say it together. It'll just become second nature to you. It'll become that crease in the piece of paper that whenever you see my name, you will say out loud to a perfect stranger, "I am where I am by the choices I have made, or I have allowed others to make for me." So if you want to change your life, you have to change your choices. That's called personal responsibility. The second thing that got a lot of interaction was the fact that I changed an affirmation several years ago, and I began to say when I woke up every morning that the best 30 years of my life were ahead of me. And I want you to believe that the best years of your life are ahead of you, whether you think that's 10, 20, 30, or 40, 50 years. And you get to go back and relive that number of years again. So every day I wake up and think I'm in my 30s. And I like that. And it puts me in a really good mood. And it also changes my behavior. And then the third thing, which brings us to our guest speaker today, in the episode Crease in the Piece of Paper, we spent time talking about how our brain was programmed. And it was just like a piece of paper. Every time you heard something, that crease got deeper and deeper and stronger and stronger. And that in order to change it, we had to replace it with different messages, love, prayer, and so forth. And so I shared with you that I considered myself a very fortunate person to have met a woman almost 25 years ago that really opened my eyes, and her name was Pat Pearson. And I said, she taught me an important concept that not only has served me well, but I believe has changed through my speeches and my work in my life, tens of thousands of people's lives, and has taken a huge burden off of their hearts. And that is that it is possible to love a messenger and throw away the message, because sometimes those messages maybe that we have been getting were actually spoken by someone who loved us and sacrificed for us, or maybe wouldn't take a bullet for us. But it is possible to love them and still throw away the message. Well, I consider it my great honor and my great privilege to introduce you not only to a very famous author, teacher, coach, trainer, world-renowned speaker that's trained 250,000 or more people around the world in 30 different countries, that she is not only this wonderful, famous, super smart, you're going to fall in love with her person, but she's my friend. Would you all please welcome my friend, Pat Pearson?
Thank you, Linda. My friend is my favorite part you just said. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Good to be with you. It's been a while since I've seen you.
It has been a while, but Pat, I have to tell you what I did this morning. Behind me, y'all can't see, but I have like the books that shaped my life. And then in the drawer over there are the CDs that changed my life. So these will look familiar to you, Pat. This one, How to Become, how the Best Become Better. Volume 1, 2, and 3, and it's full of CDs that played in my car over and over, creased in the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, People Smart. Okay.
Yep.
And then your most famous one, Stop the Self-Sabotage.
That's right.
Now,
That's right. Yeah.
I
don't even know if I have those. I might have to come to you.
Even this piece of paper, I say this all the time, and I guess I didn't realize it, Pat, that you were the person that taught me to say this. You said, once you buy the ticket, you take the ride.
Yes.
And I think that pretty much sums up 2020 and 2021. We bought the ticket. And
oh my gosh. We took the ride, and nobody wanted to buy the ticket. So sometimes you're handed a ticket that you don't want, and then how do you handle that? That's the real issue. And I know you're very committed to mental health and positive thinking. So we'll talk about that today, and about how to turn around some of the negativity of these last year or two.
Well, that's why it was so important to me, Pat, that you were here. I mean, this is your field. I'm just a layman out here with some common sense. And so hence the podcast. But what ended up happening in the past month or two, I've been in communication just in my normal daily life with teachers, a lot of friends in the mental health field, doctors, nurses, teachers, and they're all saying the same thing. What they're seeing out here is alarming. Just insanity as far as anxiety, depression, drug abuse, suicides. And they're saying it's just the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Well, it's always been there. I mean, so the question, I mean, it's an interesting chicken and egg thing. Is it that we're just now paying attention because so many celebrities have come out and said, that's me, all the way from Prince Harry to, Michael Phelps to, I mean, really important, well-known faces have said and endorsed mental health. So it's always been there. It's been a little bit in the closet, but the shared tragedy of the pandemic has brought it out in everyone. I'm not sure that there's anyone who hasn't had some elevated anxiety or depression through this whole experience. I mean, the rates are different per person, but I was doing a little research for you today too, And, the increase in depression and anxiety, and according to the CDC, in the last 2 years is 36% to 41%. So that's a lot of percentage. And the increase in age groups, the highest age group increase is 18 to 29. So it's our young people. That's the highest one. And fascinatingly enough, last night, thinking about what we're going to be talking about, I was listening to the news, and they were talking about the guy who is the CEO of Instagram, and they were talking to him about somebody goes on, some 13-year-old girl, and puts up a message about thinking about suicide, and then they get all these other messages that come to them about suicide. So the Congress was actually suggesting to him that he was doing a very poor job of handling this kind of algorithm that was stimulating this kind of response. And it's to your point. The more you hear it, the more the increase in the paper gets deeper, the more you kind of think, hey, this is the way it is. So it's a real concern. It's a real concern.
So where do we start, Pat? I mean, it's almost like an Alcoholics Anonymous, like 12-step program of detoxifying our mind from everything we've experienced to the messaging, the constant fear mongering that went on and is still going on. Where do we start?
Great question. Well, it's a little bit like eating junk food. Okay, at some point in time, you have to say, I can't get in my pants. I've got to stop.
Wait, stop, you guys. They've been asking me what the title of this episode is, and it's going to be, I'm writing this down. I can't get into my pants with Pat Pearson.
Well, I don't know, but okay. In the pants I'm talking about, of course, are your thoughts. I mean, if you spend your life surrounded by toxicity, it should be no surprise that you get toxic. I mean, I can make anybody depressed. Just put them in their room, feed them junk food, limit their social contacts, take away their iPhone, make them watch news all day long, and 48 hours later, they're going to be depressed. So first of all, it's saying, hey, this is toxic. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. To your point, what do you feel after you take in some of these messages? If you don't feel good, it is not helping you, number one. Number two, it's saying, I'm in charge. To your other point, I have a choice. I can turn this off. I'm going to talk about here in a minute how we can change our thoughts. I can pivot away from it. I do not have to be a victim to all this negativity, Now, sometimes we're caught in situations that are just we can't get out of, that are negative, and we don't quite know how to manage them. It's a little bit like eating bad food. You come home, you throw up, and then you go back on good food. So it's toxic. So you have to realize that thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. And if you are inhaling a lot of negative thought, you will indeed have a negative outcome. It just makes sense,
Right.
like you said, common sense. And the book I wrote that you have read, Stop Self-Sabotage, is dedicated to getting you out of your negative thoughts and focus on what you want rather than what you don't want, and how you program that or reprogram that in your brain. And, this has been going along for a long time, Linda. We talked about this, like you said, 25 years ago. And so this is, people used to say to me, well, you're just one of those kind of free, out there liberal. And I'm going, hey, it's not about that. It's just about what you think and how you do it, And They used to call me new age. That's the word I was looking for. I said, no, by now I'm old age. So it's not new age anymore. But this has been studied. This has been studied, Linda, since Socrates. I mean, Socrates talked about know thyself, you know? I mean, the whole concept of being in charge of your thoughts is not new. It's not new. Though we've gotten better at it, and we've gotten better at understanding the brain and neuroplasticity, big word, but basically a word that says, I can change what I think. I can change my focus. I can change my outcomes because I changed my focus. Wonderful book by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. And if your listeners haven't read it, it's a little technical at first, but stay the course. Because this book,
that name and title again?
The Biology of Belief. It's by Dr. Bruce Lipton, L-I like the T, Lipton. And basically what he has proved from science is that your cells respond to their environment, meaning toxic environments can literally damage, kill cells, to be very simplistic. It's not just genetics why we get sick. It's the toxicity we live in, and we don't even know half the time, you know? So half the time we're sitting around and it's being fed to us and we're kind of going, yeah. But we're not taking charge and pivoting away from it. That's really what we need to do.
So interesting that you said that, because I was thinking about something that happened to me, gracious, even before I met you. In fact, I was thinking about doing a podcast on this. I literally cut out like television when I first started my own business. And so basically what ended up happening, the last nighttime television cable before Netflix, before Amazon, was Little House on the Prairie, the Walton. Okay, that was all I knew. And I went for about, I guess it was maybe 7 or 8 years. And my secretary one day came in and said it was going to be the last episode of Cheers. Okay, whenever that aired. And she said, well, you want to make sure you watch it. And I was like, I've never seen it, you know. Have you? But to my point, I turned on the television. And I had watched cartoons with my kids and a few football games and basketball games, but I had not watched network television. Pat, I sat there with my mouth open, like, what is this? And it was, in my worldview, it was dark and it was not healthy and it was somewhat vulgar. And I was like, people have just sat here and consumed this and never thought to turn it off, that this is not really good. And I just want to amen everything you just said about it. It's all around us. And you can say whatever it is that's toxic. There's a lot of things, but I think we get so frog in the boiling water pan, you know, it's like it just happens slowly. And then we're in the middle of a pan boiling to death.
Right. A pandemic boiling. Yeah. Well, I tell you, one of the things how you track the toxicity, you track how you feel. Okay. That, you know. And if you do a feeling check-in, like when I'm with X friend, do I leave feeling depressed? Or when I am dealing with this person, do I leave just kind of rattled? You know, I mean, there's some people who just increase your anxiety because their anxiety is so high. We are creatures of our energetic environment. If you're around good energy, your energy is going to match it. Okay, we tend to match the people around us, and we've heard this, like, you know, keep the 5 best people around you. You know, but it's right. It is, and this biology of belief is saying it's not only right for your thoughts, it's right for your mental health, your physical health, your ongoing longevity. It will affect how long you live. And there's research on that positive people live a third longer than negative people.
Well, and I think that's really where that whole concept that I got so much from you was, sometimes we can't escape that toxicity, you know, easily. You
Right.
can't just necessarily get up and move out of your state easily, or change a job as easily, or
Right.
get a
Right.
divorce, or whatever the deal, but you can learn to love that person. And it's interesting. I was going to do a podcast, Pat, on this concept that I developed about how to dilute people, how to be able to handle a toxic person that you can't escape, but dilute their message by making sure that after you left them, that you substituted something good and healthy into your brain
Yeah. Yeah,
afterwards.
exactly. Yeah. And I did one of those somewhere in all those CDs you have. I did one on coping with difficult people, which is to that point. And that is that many times, particularly around the holidays, sometimes people we love can be very toxic to us. It's just we're not on the same level. But we love them and we
Right.
want to be with them, and we don't want to ruin Christmas by saying anything negative to Uncle Frank, but we just don't want to listen anymore. So there are gracious ways to do all that. But I wanted to talk to your listeners about how they right now can change their thoughts if they're having negative thoughts. And we all do have negative thoughts. I mean, I have negative thoughts. We all do. But a long time ago, there was teachings going around in the world on affirmations. And affirmation is anything you say to yourself repetitively is an affirmation. I mean, if you say, "Hey, I'm just too fat," that's an affirmation. If you say, I love my house," that's an affirmation. If you say, "I'm just so happy I'm married," that's an affirmation. So, or the reverse. I'm not happy. I don't like my house. I don't like myself. I don't. We know all
Yeah,
that.
it's those people who walk around all the time that says, "I'm old, I'm tired, I'm fat, and I'm broke. I'm old, I'm tired, I'm fat, and I'm broke." And I want to grab them and go, "Listen to what you just said."
Yeah, yeah. It's called Eeyore. Remember Eeyore?
Yeah.
It's always raining. Um, and they're not happy with it either. Okay, because I've worked with thousands and thousands of people, and I've never had anybody say, "Pat, I just want to tell you that my negativity makes me really happy." Doesn't happen, you know. They hate it as much as we hate it if we have to be around them. So, but they don't know how to get out of it. And this comes back to some of the programming we've had from our histories, and I won't go into all that now, but we can do that another time. But we grow up, we take an 18-year course on how to be a human being with the parents we grew up with the families we grew up with the churches, everything. And if that helped us be positive and have self-worth and believe in ourselves, then fabulous. If it didn't, then we've inherited that challenge, that choice to redo it. We are not trapped by that. Um, I've always said, though, it's a little bit, you have to know what it is first. You can't just go rah, rah, rah. I'm never going to feel that again. It doesn't work that way. You have to take charge of it with your point, Linda, that I love about your choices. And there's a 3-step process. If you wouldn't mind, I can share with you and your folks that I think is very, very helpful with that.
Please,
Um,
please.
long time ago, when I was first teaching affirmations, I would teach people to say, I am happy, I am wealthy, I am whatever I want to be. And the problem with that is that immediately, if people didn't feel that, there was a negative part of their head, a conscience
Mhm.
part that said, "No, you're not. Come on, you're not that happy. You're certainly not skinny. What in the heck are you saying that about? You're not. You don't make enough money." So in their trying to be positive, they accessed an incredible negative critical voice. Now that voice, if you have a negative critical voice and you're trying to be positive, who wins? We all know. Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to circumvent it. And the way you do that is you pivot. You pivot from your negativity and you pivot to something that's positive. And how you do that is 3 steps. Okay? Number 1, instead of I am whatever you want to be, you say something along the lines, and you're going to love this. I choose. I choose to take charge of my diet, take charge of what I put in my mouth. I choose to not indulge in negative self-talk. I choose to believe the best in my future, whatever it is. But I choose, not I am. And that circumvents that negative process in your head, because you can always choose. I choose to learn more about it. I choose to tomorrow pick up a book and find out more, or get online and find out more. So you have the ability at any moment to choose and to change your choices. That's is great. So that's number 1. Then you have to believe what you say. You got to believe it. You can't. People say to me, "Well, Pat, can't I just fake it till I make it?" And I say, "Well, no, no. The people who say they faked it on some level have believed it, or they wouldn't have reached it." Okay, you can fake out anybody. I mean, I can fake you out all I want, just whatever, but I can't fake out me. Okay, I can't convince me that that's the truth if it isn't. So find something you can believe. Don't fake it. Don't say things you don't believe. Doesn't work. Once again, your critical parent will go, no, no, no. So you want to believe it, and then you want to feel good when you say it. It's going to make you feel good, whatever the statement is. Those 3 very easy ways of talking to yourself will bring you out of toxicity. Okay? I choose to embrace all the positives in my life and feel grateful. I choose to enjoy this wonderful Christmas season and bless my fellow people with kindness. Whatever it is, I don't care what you say. Got to believe it. You got to feel good. And this goes not only for your health, mental health, but for your career, for your relationships. It's all part of what we say, I remember that when I used to have conversations with a friend of mine, we'd get in conflict. I'd say to her, I said, you're my best friend and you're really smart. So you must have picked me for a reason. So tell me a reason why you think I'm a good person, or or I'm okay, whatever. I mean, you can also have fun with it. It doesn't have to be deadly serious. We can have a good time with this.
Well, Pat, I mean, I must have heard 12 different topics that we could spend time on, you and I.
You bet.
I hope that you will accept my longstanding invitation to come back. I'm sure there's going to be so many episodes. I'm like, oh Lord, I need somebody who knows more about this than me.
Well, I have, it's fascinating because I am a psychotherapist, and I started a clinical practice, and then I started noticing, I said the same thing to everybody, and because they were all struggling with various levels of loss, toxicity, and not getting what they want. So that's what made me write the book, Stop Self-Sabotage. That's what made me go on the road and give speeches, trying to reach more people than I could in an 8-hour period of counseling. And the truth is, the information's out there, and you're doing such a wonderful job of giving your people access to it, Linda. And I am honored to be on your show, and I will be back anytime you need me, anytime. Just holler.
Hey, you will have the honor of being my very first speaker. You are the very first person. You and I were talking, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, Pat. I'm just making it up as I go along here.
Well, you know what you're doing, Linda? You're being real. And authenticity is the currency of love. That is the best thing you could do.
Oh, I'm going to write that down. Authenticity is the currency of love. Well,
That was pretty good. I like that. I'm going to write that down too. I like that myself.
Well, it was interesting this morning. I opened my Facebook, and one of the gals who had watched the last episode had made like a graphic, a little meme with something I said. And I thought, well, this will be something we need to do all the time. And then I can put it over on my website where like all these little quirky things that kind of start coming out of your mouth, it's like, oh, that was really good. So I'm going to put that on a graphic, and I will credit you with it. Authenticity is the currency of love. Pat, will you tell the audience today where to get your materials and where they can, plug into you and because you've got a podcast, plug into you, where they can get some books, some things?
Yes. Well, Amazon is the best place. Stop Self-Sabotage is a book I wrote a long time ago, and then I rewrote it a couple, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that. But it's kind of my standard. It's my standard, stop self-sabotage. Get out of your own way. Get what you truly deserve in your life, which is always, more than we allow ourselves usually. So that's the book. And then the podcast is Stop Self-Sabotage. There's repetition here. And and you can go to any platform you want, Google, Spotify, any iHeartMedia. Put in Stop Self-Sabotage and look for Pat Pearson. I'd love them to come listen. I have some great speakers, and I have in January a woman named Linda Toupin coming on. So there you go. And I was telling you, Linda, that it's amazing to me, where you say this stuff and then it goes out in the world and you don't know where it goes. I've gotten feedback that the biggest number of people who are listening are from India. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew? Yeah, I didn't know. But, I guess they're into positive beliefs over there and stopping their own self-sabotage. So, and I can't wait to have you on and so go and when you go, you say this all the time and you've taught me this, make a comment, subscribe, say something, give me a rating, be kind. Now be kind, it's Christmas. So anyway.
I need to tell you, Pat, you have to understand something. Like, I come from the mountains of Eastern Kentucky and we take care of our own there. Okay. And so I have a very mama bear approach about anybody who attacks anybody in my comment section or me. I mean, you can disagree, but when you start attacking, I did a photo shoot. I can't wait. I haven't had to use it yet, but I did a photo shoot and I have this picture of myself in this fur coat and I'm looking quite fierce. And my hairdresser this week said I look like that girl on Yellowstone who's so like mean. I don't know if you know that show, but anyway. I don't. Well, I'm just here to tell you, nobody's going to say anything bad about you, Pat Pearson. I won't allow it. And so,
thank you.
So you guys, your homework, because you get homework from me after every time, your homework is to do exactly what Pat just told you. I want you to go check out our podcast, subscribe so that you start putting her in your head. I'm grateful that you allow me in your head, and she will be grateful that you've allowed her in your head because you do control those people in your head. So I want you to go check her out on our podcast and maybe head over to Amazon and get some stuff that you invest in, a book, whatever is out there. I encourage you. So that'll be your homework for this next week. All
Linda,
right, you guys.
You're so darling. So fun. I'm so glad to reconnect.
Well, we end every episode, Pat. You may not know this or not, but I have this secret love in my life and he doesn't know I exist. And so if I do this enough times, I'm quite confident that he will one day find me because I'm his soulmate. So Mike Rowe, friend Pat Pearson, she's really cool. You can have her on your podcast. All right, you guys. Happy week. Thank you, Pat Pearson.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.